It's KP back with yet another video, and I have been on a roll. Yay. Today I bring you my second winner of my poll I hosted, which was fantasy-themed characters. But before I get into that, let me tell you my little spiel. Artfight is an art trading and gifting event held all through July, and I am very hyped for it. If you don't know what Artfight is, there are a lot of really helpful videos out there on YouTube, so I suggest looking those up and learning more about it if you're interested, of course. This year I am on Team Comedy. As a heads up, I do not do friendly fire, so just keep that in mind if you are planning on drawing any of my characters. If you are also on Team Comedy, I will not be attacking you back. Alright, let's get back to my yap. The brief mentions. Here are a couple characters that are either already been talked about in past videos, or I am planning to talk about them in an upcoming video. First, we have my comic characters from both Shadows and Deep Woods, Enola's Art and Lottie, and also B and Lydia. They're from my fantasy-themed comics, okay? Next, some characters I talked about in my last video, which are some couples, Sarzana and Exuli, Victory and Calypso, and lastly, Ulf, Clover, and Clementine. And of course, characters that are to come in later videos, we have Prima and Eska, and Galamsey. But let's dive into the characters that I have selected for this video. Let's start with my OC Kistrana, or Rhodey if you will. Kistrana is the descendant of Lady Sarzana and Exuli, and she's also almost a dead ringer for Lady Sarzana, and this has led to a lot of pressure and expectations being placed on Kistrana. She is the princess priestess of the Church of Pure Light. Whew, a mouthful there. That makes her as close to Sarzana as anyone can be, plus her literally looking like Sarzana. There's a pretty sizable group of people who think she is Sarzana, reborn to save them from Void. Also, a little background. Void is a catch-all term for dark energy that is hard for those of Oasis to explain. This is what they call the energy that surrounds Oasis and keeps everyone stuck there. That's also the name of the monsters that come from the Void. And it can also be what they call an affliction that leaves dark burns all over the body. Kistrana was engaged to a noble from a nearby city, and his name was West Langfin. And at first meeting, Kistrana was quite smitten with him, and he left her quite flustered, and everything was progressing as a typical arranged Oasis relationship would. But she did overhear something she maybe wasn't supposed to that put her fiancé in a new light, or perhaps less of a light and more of a dark shadow. He was planning something evil. Kistrana's familiar had already had a really bad feeling about this guy, West. When Kistrana came to tell Camille her worries, Camille was already prepared with a plan. Kistrana was to fake her death and travel to a small town not too far, but also not too close. Somewhere in the middle, and live there for however long it took to handle the West situation that was happening. In this new town, Kistrana became a florist, and she caught the eye of a guard named Cass, and he gave her the really cute nickname of Rhodey, based off of rhododendrons, which stuck and became her new name. They both pine for each other, and it's a will they won't they, but there's like a push and a tug. And at some point, something really bad happens that leads to Rhodey needing to reveal her title, and she also, at some other point later on, has to sacrifice a whole lot to save Cass, which leaves her whole body covered in Void Type 2. That is an affliction that comes from being in direct contact with pure Void for an extended period of time, such as opening up a dimensional portal or rift. That can cause that. It is the most aggressive and deadly version of Void. But do not worry, something inside of Rhodey awakens after her near-death experience that leads her soul to having a hard reset and purges the Void from her body. This has literally never happened to anyone ever previously on Oasis. She does suffer from memory loss for a while and a brief period of thinking that she is in fact Sarzana, but eventually she regains her memories and she gets to have her happy ever after. Kistrana is also my Minecraft Diaries OC, so in a later video I will go over some of the notes for her story in that because it is a little bit different and some of the characters are in fact different, and I love Kistrana quite a lot, so I'm gonna go in depth about it. And I am gonna go right into Cass after this, but I do want to say that I know that one was quite long, but going forward most of the character spiels won't be quite as long, being as Kistrana is my first ever proper OC. She just has a lot going on. Cass is Rhodey's love interest, and he had left his home one night because he did in fact have type 3 Void. This is a type of Void that makes the person afflicted turn into a Void monster under great stress. This type of Void, you have to be born with it, and it's the most rare type of Void. Because of this, he has been very careful to keep his distance from most people, but one day he meets with the new florist in town and instantly is enamored by her. He so badly wants to get closer to her, but each time he tries, his Void starts to act up and he pushes her further away. A noble named West Langfin, who also happens to be a Void hunter, people who hunt Void monsters and those affected with type 3 Void, has come to their little town, and Cass has been evading this guy many, many times, but this time he was caught off guard and was nearly taken away and outed by West. But Rhodey reveals herself to be the Princess Priestess and also West's fiancé. West was quite shocked to see that his fiancé was in fact alive, and Cass was quite surprised to know that this girl, Rhodey, was in fact the Priestess Princess Kistrana. Cass could tell that something had happened between the two, but Rhodey wished not to speak of it, and Cass wasn't going to push, obviously. Cass's void eventually acts up to a point that he is no longer able to hide it and puts everyone else's lives in danger. He flees to the void, or like another dimension outside of regular Oasis, to keep everyone safe, but he will not last long out there, as Void is incredibly aggressive to the soul and will kill him. Kistrana made the choice to try and save him, and it was at a very great cost, and Cass feels really bad about it, and he tries to make it up to her all the time. They eventually do get their happy ending, though. Both of them have 2 kids, although because of Kistrana's soul purge that happens, it does leave her with scrambled memories, and for a brief moment, she had a rekindling with West, and there were worries that her firstborn was actually West's child, but later it's revealed that it's actually both her and Cass's kid. Their kids are Larksong and Ellis, and yeah, they're both Cass's kids. Larksong and Ellis don't have Artfight, so if you want to draw them, you will have to use their Toy House code. Same with West, as I have had him archived. He was up last year, but not this year. And let's get into some other characters. So next we have Morana. I love Morana. She's the only child of Victory and Calypso. I talk about them in my last video. Calypso dies very shortly after Morana's birth, but she's able to add void protection seals onto her baby before that happens. This will give Morana an immunity to the void. Now keep in mind, Calypso is the only person to have ever figured out how to do this, and she dies before she's able to spread the knowledge. So the only person who knows would be Morana, and she's just a baby. This also gives her the ability to feel magic and void all around her. She can sense it. Morana is one of my main insert OCs for different shows and stuff. In most of these, she will be half human and half elf, and taking more after her human father, so it's nearly impossible to tell that she is in fact half elf. She has a super long elf lifespan. Also, Morana is a jack of all trades, and she's able to use magic, and she's quite skilled with a sword. In the AU, she's usually pretty OP, mostly because she's 100 and still in her prime. She's not old, but she is old, okay? She's old for a human. Also, screw people who say you can't have OPOCs. It's not like they're canon, so they don't need to be well-rounded with a bunch of weaknesses, guys, okay? You can have OPOCs, it's fine. Morana has 2 kids. One of them is with her situationship, Alistair, whom I may have gotten the name of from Dragon Age. Oops. And their son is named Mateo. She also has a daughter that she created using purely her own soul and magic, basically the opposite of Void, and her name is Sunniva. Her kids and situationship, they don't have an art fight, so you're gonna have to use the Toy House code if you want to draw them. Next, we have Lacey. Lacey is one of Victory's older sisters. She left home after finding out she had magic, and her parents didn't want her to be drafted for Guardian as they had been, and it was awful. Lacey returns after Victory's wife, Calypso, died. A couple months before the funeral, she had run into a guy named Rin, and they had formed a pretty quick bond, but later, at the funeral, she finds out that Rin is actually Calypso's older brother, and she feels kind of awkward after that. But at that point, she was already pregnant with his kid, and she does try to make it work. And then after their daughter Esperanza was born, it got better. Unfortunately, because Lacey showed back up, that means that she was drafted for Guardian, and she does end up dying on one of those missions, leaving Ren to raise Esper on his own. Lots of dead moms around here, guys. Esperanza is on Artfight, but Ren isn't, so if you want to draw him, you're going to have to use the Toy House code. And now we have Zesqueda. She is another one of my early OCs. She is the 13th born of Nekoeda and Shad. She's a Scythe of both the snow leopards, but also clouded leopards. This double title comes from the fact that she, in fact, has 2 souls. She was meant to be a pair of twins, but after her mother became very ill, one of the twins was absorbed by Zesqueda. Her having 2 souls doesn't mean she's got, literally 2 people in one body. It just means that she has the soul properties of 2, but she's just Zesqueda. Think of it kind of like chimerism that happens in real life people, where you could be sharing DNA of an absorbed twin. She just also happens to have the soul of her twin. She was sent away with her older sister Sakura to the mainland of Oasis by her other older sister Elazarine. This was done to protect Zesqueda, and also so that Elazarine could ascend the throne without too many oppositions from people who had wanted the at the time, very young Zesqueda to become the queen. Zesqueda later on has 2 kids with a character who does belong to somebody else, so I might have to figure out something else at some point for that, but her 2 kids are Enoch and Neskeda. Nezi is on Artfight, but Enoch is not, so if you decide to draw him, you will have to use the Toy House code. Let's do a mermaid next. Colette is my only mermaid OC who is not a Scythe. She is a human with an ability that allows her to transform into a mermaid when submerged in water. Colette wasn't born with this ability. She was actually completely powerless as a child, but she really loved to dance. And one day she was on a boat and it was in a really, really bad storm, and this led to her legs being crushed by part of the mast of the ship that crashed down during the storm. And either her powers had just awakened because of the trauma, or the universe pitied her, so they gave her a mermaid form, which not only saved her life, but also gave her a freedom that she lost when her legs were crushed. Colette does have a love interest, and he is a Scythe named Ian, and they have 3 kids. Also, Colette is one of the children of Lydia. So they're 3 kids. I do plan on adding at least one of their kids this year, which is Eiley. But if you do want to draw them, and I didn't add Eiley, or I didn't add them, you can by using the Toy House code, obviously. Same with Ian. He too does not have an Artfight. And best for last, well, not best. I basically love all of my OCs, especially the ones I have up this year. I love them a ton. But she is definitely one of my top gals right now. We have Liberty, or Lady Liberty if you will. Liberty is also my Overlord OC, like the anime. I don't know, I just really love that anime and I want to watch more, but I'm a broke bish, okay? Liberty is a sprite, which is a half fairy, half shapeshifter, and Liberty is the judge, jury, and executioner. She has a very large axe made from a guillotine that she calls Justice. Liberty used to have wings, but after a run-in with some humans, she lost them. This has led to her growing a really deep hatred of humans. Though she does keep her bias to herself if her job requires it, Liberty has a growing collection of human skulls that she keeps in her bed, or you could say her hoard. If you're wondering why I use the word hoard, well, it's because her alt form of choice is a wyvern. Although after she lost her wings, she also lost the ability to fly in all of her shapeshifted forms, so the wings are damaged on the wyvern too. In her non-AU counterpart, so main canon, she is married to the Scythe Royal Seikan, who is the Scythe Royal of Dragons. They have 2 kids, Pastrami and Mackenzie, or Macaroni, if you will. None of them are up on my Artfight at this time, so if you wish to draw them, you will have to, you guessed it, use my Toy House code. Liberty's hair has a slight glow crystal look to it, as that's where she stores her magic, especially more so now that her wings are gone. Also a note, sprites have a hard time walking because of their legs. They're not really made for it, so she does have to be carried a lot of the time. And that's it for OC yapping. As for prep, it's the same as my last video because I'm gonna make these 2 videos at the same exact time so that they can come out really close together. And with that, I can get to my closer. If you want to support me financially and get your name at the end of the video, you can become a Ko-fi or Patreon member to get rewards and behind-the-scene content. You can also get a commission from me on my Ko-fi or VGen, but keep in mind that those will probably be closed until mid-August. I may open up a couple simple Your Character Heroes or Cheebs. We'll see, and if I open up anything larger than that, it will be for Ko-fi and Patreon members exclusively. All that information is on my Discord. Are there any shows, comics, or pieces of media that you have OCs for? You can tell me about those in the comments. I will also be making a video properly after Artfight has probably already started, going over the OCs that I have for fan AUs and like shows that I really like. So yeah, keep an eye for that and any other upcoming character intro videos that I have planned. If you like the video, you can let me know by liking and subscribing if you aren't already, and turning on push notifications to know the next time that I post, which will hopefully be sooner rather than later. Until then, bye!